Hello, I'm Clive Johnson, coming today from Crowborough near Tunbridge Wells in the UK. Welcome to Impact, a podcast about how we can each bring about real change in the world and getting practical in making that happen.
And hello, I'm Ellen Binns coming today from Wheaton, Illinois in the USA. A special welcome if you're listening for the first time, and a big thank you to our new subscribers. Each week, we look at one aspect of how we can connect our hearts to offer healing for others with our collective intention, prayers, and meditation, and go behind the headlines of a critical happening in our world that needs our attention right now.
And in today's episode, we take one of these regular deep dives to more fully understand and tune in with something many of us may know only a little about, and see where we might hone in with our prayers and intentions. And as we record, it's the 17th of April, Maundy Thursday. I was looking for someone to wash my feet today. Didn't find anyone. That's what you meant. Or you're meant to wash people's feet this day, aren't you? Not stand around on street corners. Anyway, enough of that. This week, in a special episode, we're going to turn the tables a little bit, as we do from time to time. So Alan is actually going to be one of our interviewees. I can't really call you a guest, can I? Because you're a host. But we have two other wonderful guests as well. A special episode this week, we're talking about World Labyrinth Day. We'll be explaining what that's all about and how it ties in with our interest in this podcast as we go through. But let me introduce our other two wonderful guests. And perhaps actually it's best if I hand over to them to say a little bit about themselves. Perhaps we should say, even before we do that, why Ellen is also on that side. You are actually coordinator, aren't you, for World Labyrinth Day
Yes.
this year? So
Yes, this is my fifth year of being the coordinator, and I get to have an unbelievable steering committee that helps pull it all together. And two of these women are part of the steering committee. Fabulous, fabulous additions to the steering committee. I couldn't do it without them. And they are also going to take over for me as I step aside this year. I'm a firm believer in rotating leadership, and I feel like it's time for me to let the new energy rise. And I know they will do it with a lot of energy and grace and ideas that is going to take World Labyrinth Day to another level. So I would like to introduce you to Carmel Stabley and Susie Leeper. And Susie, do you want to go first and introduce yourself a little bit?
Certainly. I'm Susie Leeper, and I live in New Hampshire, and I have a winter home in Honduras. And I'm currently on the steering committee for World Labyrinth Day, and I also serve as the membership chair for the Labyrinth Society.
thank
And
you.
she does a wonderful job, Ellen.
Yes,
This is
yes, she
Carmel
does.
Yes, this is Carmel Stavely, VP of Community for TLS. I am the regional rep chairperson, and I also have the privilege of serving on the World Labyrinth Day Committee. I live here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in beautiful USA.
Thank you. It's a place I visited a number of times, actually. Carmel's hometown, and it's a great, it's possibly the capital, isn't it, for the Amish community in the US?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, Clive. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure to have you here.
So perhaps we could start with Carmel with some of the basics. And while many of our listeners will be familiar with Labyrinths, especially those who do connect with Labyrinth Activist Network and the Zoom calls that Alan is involved with there, some may not be. So could you just briefly fill us in on what a labyrinth is and what someone who walks one might expect to experience?
Well, in my experience, it's been a walking meditation for me. It connects me to Mother Earth. They are you'll mostly see what I consider to be a sacred icon that has come to us. That is often the pattern on the earth or in a cathedral. It could be a handheld labyrinth pattern as well. And it's basically either walked or traced with your finger in a meditative state, where you might prepare yourself for prayer, worship, ceremony, discernment. There's really no specific way to walk it. The best way to walk it is bringing your best self to the specific walk itself. So they've been around for thousands of years. It's nothing new. There's over 6,000 of them registered on the World Labyrinth Day locator. You could find a labyrinth to walk almost anywhere. You might have to travel by car to get to one, but they're all over the world. They are not claimed by any specific religion or even people. They're not owned by any type of organization or anything like that. They are just, I think, a universal sign. Often people look at it as a life journey, sort of a symbol for pilgrimage, hero's journey, if you will. So those are some of the reasons why people walk the actual pattern. There are famous patterns like the ones in Chartres Cathedral, very ancient patterns like our classic or the Seventh Circuit labyrinth, and many modern designs now.
And they cross cultures as well, don't they?
Cross cultures as well, absolutely. It's found all over the world in all types of cultures.
And just again, just thinking there may be one or two folks out there who might confuse a labyrinth with a maze, which is quite a common one. Point of confusion, I think.
So a maze really is more of a puzzle, more of a game. It's made, it's there to help to create thought, where and it's more analytical, where a labyrinth is simply a path to walk in and walk back out again. There are no tricks, there's no hidden secret walls, there's no traps. It's really to help, I would say, turn on your internal thoughts, your intuitive thoughts, more so than your analytical thoughts. That's the big difference, where you're tuning into your intuition as opposed to analytical side.
Lovely, thank you. And can you say a little bit about the sort of why, what, where of the World Labyrinth Day, how the idea got started and what it's all about?
Well, yes, I can certainly talk about that. The concept and the intention for World Labyrinth Day was first suggested back in 2007 by the Labyrinth Society Strategic Planning Committee. And then in 2008, Clive, an international committee of 19 board members and members chose the first Saturday in May as World Labyrinth Day, and inspired participants with this intention to walk as one at 1 or 1 o'clock in their own time zones, to help create this wave of peaceful energy around our planet and beyond.
We'll perhaps come back and talk about that concept a little bit later, but maybe now if I can just bring in Susie, and really just interested to know what folks might expect to be happening on this day, this first Saturday in May this year. This year's the May the 3rd, isn't it? Last year was May the 4th. I remember we got a nice title out of that. May the 4th be with you.
That was last year.
That was last year, yes.
Yes, I'll tell you, this is the first time that I've actually been managing the listings as they come in to be posted on our interactive global map. And it's been fascinating to me to see the variety of events. They range from things that are being planned to be scribed on a beach and walked, all the way up to formal workshops that are going on for the whole day that incorporate both a physical walk and virtual walk and online walk. So it's been absolutely a pleasure for me to see how many different ways that people are celebrating.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as Carmel mentioned, it's not just physically walking with your feet, Labyrinth. You can actually walk with your finger as well. That's an option. The sort of online offerings available.
Absolutely. There are 2 very special online offerings on the actual day with the Reverend Dr. Lauren Artris, who many believe to be the sort of the big push, the founder of the modern labyrinth movement, if you will. And she'll be doing Finger Labyrinth virtually online at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and then again at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And there's registration for those at our website, which I assume you'll include in the show notes.
Absolutely. Well, that almost sounds a civilized hour for me. 1 p.m. Pacific. Usually we have mountain time, don't we, with Labyrinth Activist Network, and it's usually way past my bedtime for your calls. And I believe that World Labyrinth Day has been growing year on year. Last year, seeing one of the strongest showings yet. I know Ellen put together a wonderful montage of images and videos that have been collated from around the world.
Indeed, and it is continuing to grow. Last year at this time, we had a little over 150 events listed, and this year at the same date, we have over 250 listed. Last year, we had a listed amount of just over 300, and I am expecting to bomb past that. And it's been wonderful to see the response. We do spend a bit of time promoting on the various websites at the Labyrinth Society's Facebook Global group. It's been a good source. And then even you may have seen my posts in some of the Labyrinth makers and the other organizations.
Sure.
And they're coming in. In addition, there's the ones coming in that are virtual and ones coming in for World Labyrinth Day in educational settings.
Fantastic, fantastic. And that focus on education, the labyrinth in colleges and schools, is something that's been really championed by a mutual friend of ours, Lorraine Dean Roder in Australia. I was actually just reflecting, Alan, how Chris, because we actually, the latest episode that went out, what will be the episode before this one goes out, was very much focused on the issues surrounding particularly young boys. We were focused on the back of the adolescence series in schools and colleges, and really thinking the labyrinth could be a very, very helpful resource to bring into those settings.
Absolutely. I think we talked before we started recording about some stuff that the Australian Labyrinth Network had done and the stories that Ange Vigora in particular tells about what he's accomplished in schools with the younger age kids before they get to middle school. They get some tools before they get to that age. And well, we're hoping that people will participate in all age groups. It really seems to be well received in the younger age groups. Now, Carmel has done for a couple of years a wonderful event at a school, and the pictures are precious of the kids who are participating and how heartfelt it was. You might want to talk a moment about that, Carmel.
Oh, sure. It's Woodland School here in the Philadelphia area. It is a wonderful school for children who learn in different ways, and they have their own labyrinth on their in their schoolyard. And class by class, they come out and they learn the heart, brain, intention, which is just so heartfelt. One year we had them pick out flags from around the world that resonated with them, and they walked for that country. Of course, they do events all day, even in their gym class. They were putting labyrinths, making labyrinths on the gym floor. Of course, using the materials that were written by the Australian Labyrinth Network, for K through 12, what we call kindergarten through 12. Implementing some of them. They're going to be doing it again this year. I won't be joining them because I'm will be elsewhere for World Labyrinth Day, but yeah, they're just so into it, and it's really encouraging. I do believe we will get photos from 2025 from them again, Ellen.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We get participation in Africa and Australia, other parts of the US, especially Montessori schools seem to be open to it.
Yes.
So we would love for that aspect of World Labyrinth Day to grow more.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned the Australian Labyrinth Network there. That's one of a number of organizations that partner for this particular day, isn't it?
Yes, I'm very happy that we have created this collaboration with TLS founded World Labyrinth Day, but we in Australian Labyrinth Network started working with TLS in 2019. And then when I began being the leader, I brought in or asked if Legacy Labyrinth Project and Veritas would like to join and collaborate. And that has been just fantastic for the whole movement, for the whole Labyrinth community, to see everybody working together. And it just amplifies the power that we've had to, expose this to more people and energize it.
Veritas is an organization that, again, folks outside of the Labyrinth community might not have heard of.
Right.
You mentioned Labyrinth Society, you mentioned LN, and our listeners will know about Labyrinth Activist Network. Its role within Legacy Labyrinth, because obviously you're very involved with that. We probably should say a word or two about what Veritas, what their main focus or interest is.
Well, I think that's the organization that the Reverend Dr. Lauren Arcturus began, and they do great education.
Mm-hmm.
They have a program where you can become a facilitator and train, and that allows people to have the confidence to go out and do the labyrinth work and share. So they're really strong on education, I think. Wouldn't you guys say, Susie and Carmel?
Absolutely. And with ongoing workshops and support for their facilitator network. I myself am a advanced certified facilitator through the Veritas program. And I would say between these 4 partners, it has opened up not only my understanding and knowledge and practice with labyrinths, but friendships. I mean, even meeting Clive, I met Clive through the TLS network. I met Ellen through Veritas network, and I met Susie through TLS. I've made friends all over the world because of these 4 beautiful organizations that, work independently in beautiful ways, but come together in that collaborative way for such a, I think, important day set apart for world peace and planetary healing that we need more than ever with the turmoil that's going on in not only our country, but in what it's doing to other countries as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that global reach, that sort of bringing in countries from around the world, and the inclusivity as a sort of objective, that's something that's been worked on really over the last year.
We've really dedicated it, especially in the last couple of years, and making materials available in 15 different languages and Braille. And we offer our pre-World Labyrinth Day workshops twice a day, so we cover all of the time zones. And can't deny that we're in the United States, but we're trying to reach our hands out to the world and include everybody. And when you see the photo montage, if listeners could take a moment to watch one of those, you'll understand why, because they're events that start in New Zealand, and that wave of peace literally goes around the world at 1:00 each, in each time zone, all the way to Hawaii.
Heartwarming, isn't it, to watch that?
Yeah.
We'll obviously put a link to that in the show notes. And Carmel, I think you mentioned that the American Dowser Association has also been involved, or will be involved.
Yes, it's so wondful. I'm a dowser. I'm a dabbling dowser, so to speak. And
a dabbling dowser. I like that.
Yeah, dabbling dowser. And I will tell you why I got involved with dowsing was to further develop my intuition, and bringing that intuition to my labyrinth work as well. So started going to their conventions, and then this year very heavily put together collaborations with them. And they opened up their channels for the World Labyrinth Day Committee to present World Labyrinth Day to their dowsing community, because many people who are dowsers will dowse where to put a labyrinth. I think that's well known in the labyrinth world, that people will dowse for the right positioning for building a labyrinth. So there's a lot, and I will tell you, many of our founders of TLS were dowsers. So we're just sort of families just coming back again at a wonderful reunion. And what's really great, last year they held space for World Labyrinth Day. And what I mean by that, they held sacred space for us. They gathered around their own labyrinths and thought about us that day. And I was really happy that they did that. I felt that anchoring, from them. And they will continue to do that this year.
It's often a role that's forgotten, isn't it, in spiritual activity. It's important when you have this, almost like angels protecting and holding you.
Yes.
Holding your back and allowing you to do what you're there for, perhaps on more, as it were, the center stage. Well, let's turn to Alan now as an interviewee. And among all of the many, many things I know you do, which we we speak about some of them sometimes, but you, as you mentioned, you've been holding the mantle now, coordinating World Labyrinth Day for the past 5 years, which has been a period of very considerable growth and reaching out into the world. We've mentioned some of the things that have been going on in that time. But along with that, there's also occasionally been some fascinating research, which we have touched on in our own episodes, because it's where we have a particular interest, isn't it? Actually, the kind of energetic power of the labyrinth. Can you say a little bit about that as by way of a reminder, really, for our listeners?
Yeah, it was really fun how that came to be, how the Legacy Labyrinth project created the big connection. And I had just begun my board seat on Legacy Labyrinth project about the same time that I became the coordinator of World Labyrinth Day. And Chris was talking about her desire to do research and get a bunch of people together. And I said, well, what about doing it on World Labyrinth Day? And she said, do you think we can do that? And I said, I think we can, because guess who's the coordinator? So we got the two together and it worked out beautifully. It really did. And the research that we have received, the data that came from those projects has been so important about, collective energy and the power of the collective and the power of intention too, because everyone walked with the same intention one year. And the results have been published in, I can't remember the name of the magazine, but we will put the link in the show notes of where you can read about that. And there have been other, research projects too that are still being written up because it takes a while. So it was a great collaboration. And in fact, we're not doing it this year because they're behind in the data production of information. So they need to take a year off before they do another research project. But and that was in collaboration with Baylor University.
Yes.
It was the real deal. Yeah.
And it's not totally unique, as we know the work that Lynn McTaggart has done, for example. I quite often talk about that as, mass scale global participation, but it's very unusual for an academic institution to be able to piggyback, as it were, on the back of a truly global initiative on something like this with a large number of people involved. So very important research. So you mentioned, Ellen, that the big connection isn't happening this year. But Carmel, I wonder whether there's still a specific intention or energetic focus that you would encourage people to.
Absolutely. And I just have to say that our Chris Katzenmeyer from LLP is still doing stunning work. This year, she did beautiful presentations on creating intentions and intentions in general. And her work is just, it's outstanding in the field. I can't say more about that. But, today more than ever, we're encouraging World Labyrinth Day as that practice for world peace and planetary healing. And the focus, although we celebrate in a lot of different ways, Clive, but the focus truly is on unity and collective intention and focusing our energy around building and sustaining a peaceful world for all of our inhabitants, human and more than human. So one way to do this, well, there's a couple of ways that you can incorporate some traditions into the way you walk World Labyrinth Day. The first one is before you walk your walk at 1 o'clock, I encourage people to think about those who just walked in their time zone at 1 and those who will walk after you. And go ahead and just breathe into that moment with them and send them and their towns and their governments peace and healing. And then the other way that you might incorporate intention and how to walk with, I sort of call it the mantra walk as 1 at 1, is, the world is divided into 24 time zones. And, sending forth our intentions across those time zones, it definitely creates a wave of peace. And so another mindful practice would be to circumambulate. In other words, walk around the labyrinth. Now, you'd have to use a compass if you don't know your west from your east, but you could also do it in a finger labyrinth as well. And, just go ahead and walking around the labyrinth, thinking of the whole world. and, sending the whole world piece. So you could absolutely walk around the labyrinth as well. So, yeah, and if you, believe that all labyrinths are connected on the planet, as I believe they're connected energetically through Earth's special language, and oftentimes it's called a biofield or ley lines or water domes. I just think that we can create positive frequency and feedback that will create a shift that affects our thoughts and feelings and actions by walking with intention.
Ellen and I were actually talking a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? Sort of offline about World Labyrinth Day, and I was mentioning what I do when I host labyrinth walks. Always, actually, my approach in holding the space is to say a metta prayer, loving kindness prayer.
Absolutely.
So it is a circular motion going round, typically, offering loving kindness for those who are walking, but also for the space, the kind of imprint left by the labyrinth. And then the idea of metta, as I'm sure many of us know, is to then expand outward, perhaps into the neighborhood, perhaps to the town or city where you are, and then going beyond there. And this ties in, I think, with this idea of what you were saying about kind of receiving a baton and acknowledging it and being grateful for the energy that's being received, at the same time passing energy back, loving kindness energy back in that direction, but with a focus perhaps of moving on, as you say, in a westerly direction, because that's the way it works, doesn't it? The world spins and so on. Susie, I wonder if you might say if there are things, I'm sure there are, I know there are, what kind of activities are going on ahead of World Labyrinth Day?
Well, we have just finished up a series of monthly workshops or seminars, webinar type of events, hosted by each of the collaborating partners, and then an additional one from the American Society of Dowsers. And those are all available in a recorded format on the website. They offer tips and tricks and ideas and opportunities to reflect on how you might be planning your World Labyrinth Day event. Wonderful one from Veriditas faculty member Lars Howlett on creating temporary labyrinths, and he brought in Peter Clark, and that was
UK.
Oh yes, absolutely. Peter, he actually sent me a message today. He was laying out sawdust somewhere.
It was a wonderful presentation and very inspiring for the people that participated. And again, it's available recorded on the website and will continue to be there for folks, not just for World Labyrinth Day, for inspiration throughout their journey in the labyrinth.
Wonderful. Well, certainly we'll put the relevant links in the show notes there.
Susie, can you talk for just a moment about all the things that are available to people on the website?
Yes, and that's another thing that's been really inspiring to me, and spending more time looking online at the listings that people are posting. They've really used our resources. We have a full suite of public relations resources, including logos and write-ups and a flyer that you can just take the basics of it and put your own information into it. And it's just been fabulously received, and many of the organizations that are holding events are using that. In addition, we have available all kinds of resources, including bibliography and labyrinths designs to look at, general information about labyrinths. So it's a full service website in addition to focusing on World Labyrinth Day.
And Finger Labyrinths to download if you're doing one of the virtual events. You can go there to get your Finger Labyrinth.
Wonderful. And I did take a look at the education page of the Australian Labyrinth Network. Again, amazing resources there, as we were mentioning earlier.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I know Ellen, and I believe certainly Carmel, I don't know about Susie, but you are off traveling, aren't you, on World Labyrinth Day? Ellen, where are you going to be?
Super excited to be in Washington, D.C. with Lars, who Susie just mentioned.
Yes.
So Lars and I are buddying up, and we're going to be at St. Columba Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C. We'll be there from 12 to 2. And then we're hoping to do another walk in the afternoon somewhere else. That's to be determined. We haven't quite gotten the okay where we want to be, but hopefully that will happen within the next 2 weeks.
Kind of watch this space.
So yes, watch this space.
Mm.
So super excited about that.
Wonderful. That's going to be a tremendous place to be. Susie, what about you?
Well, this will be the third year that I've been leading a walk in a nearby town to where I live called North Conway in New Hampshire. And then in the evening, I'm going to be going over to another location in the mountains here in the town of Thornton. And I'm helping to host an evening labyrinth walk and drum circle. And that's going to be happening at the same time as World Labyrinth Day Live, which is a special broadcast that Ellen co-hosts with another steering committee member, Frank Fain.
Yes.
And we go live and we'll be, I'm hoping to have that drum circle drumming away.
Oh, fantastic. We must acknowledge Frank, mustn't we, for all the work he does, and especially in the education area as well, I know, especially. And Carmel, I've heard about your travel plans. Can you let us know the what and the why?
Yeah, I was invited by our new TLS regional rep. His name is John Austin, a descendant from Jane Austen, by the way, who has a beautiful retreat center and conference center. He is building a new chapel with a new indoor labyrinth, but he has a whole outdoor botanical labyrinth. He invited me to come over to help sort of warm up the new labyrinth, sort of help dedicate the new labyrinth. They are having some building problems. They're in monsoon season right now. So we're going to dedicate wherever it's at, however, the stage that it's in, we're still going to dedicate and pray over and sing it in, the whole 9 yards. But I'm hoping to develop, just more relations. As you know, we have regional reps in Northern Africa, Rwanda, and hopefully link those together and, link this group with other people around the globe.
That's going to be amazing.
I don't think I heard you mention that this new retreat center is in South Africa.
South Africa,
yes,
right below Johannesburg. If that gives you a little locator on the map. So yeah, we're going to South Africa there, and I'll be there for a good 10 days, and trying to connect with a few people and see what happens, and of course support them and lean into how they do labyrinth and how they want to present World Labyrinth Day in their custom, in their way. So I'm excited. They're going to be having not only a dedicated labyrinth walk, they will be having food trucks and wellness workshops, and they're going to have a drum circle and fire dancers and just everything African. So it'll be fun.
It's going to be quite something. And when you mentioned Jane Austen, you reminded me of possibly the last time we met. You were in the UK, weren't you, Carmel? And
you took me to Bath.
We were in Bath, exactly.
Yeah. And we went through her museum together, yeah.
We did, yes.
Yes, we did.
I'm afraid I know very little about Jane Austen, but...
Pride and Prejudice is...
Oh, yeah, I know that one. But that was quite a day. Well, we're probably getting near the end of our time here. So I wonder if there's anything else that anybody wants to mention, anything that we've not picked up on so far.
I think we just really want to encourage our listeners to visit our website and just scout around there and see. We've made it as easy as possible for you to plan an event for World Labyrinth Day. And know that you don't have to bring a bunch of people together to walk a labyrinth. You can do this on your own at 1 o'clock your time, or you can join in one of the virtual ones we've talked about. Bring a friend, grab a friend and find one in a park, or, look on the map. Oh my gosh, we forgot to talk about the maps, Susie. This year, there's a new interactive map on the site that shows where all the events are happening around the world.
Wow.
And we have to, talk about Susie and Scott Hensley, who helped us do this. It's really fun to see where all the events are popping up. So go on there and see if there's something close by. Join in.
That sounds amazing.
It's going to be, it's important. It's important. We're showing the world that it can be done.
Yes.
That we truly can all come together on a day with one intention of love and peace. That's the thing I love about World Labyrinth Day the most.
Well, I hope that at some point, maybe it's going to be in the World Labyrinth Day Live, that the Labyrinth community is going to acknowledge Helen's work over the last 5 years, which has been, beyond exceptional, I think, in bringing so many people together. And we've spoken about many of the achievements. So let's acknowledge that at least here. But I'm sure there'll be many people listening in the Labyrinth community who would really want to express their appreciation for everything that you've done.
Well, I couldn't have done it without my fabulous steering committee. It was, many hands make light work, and it really, we all did it together.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Well, Ellen, you've been a great inspiration.
Yeah,
So thank you.
You've got very big shoes to fill, Carmel and Susie, I think. You mentioned also, I think, Carmel, earlier, before we started recording, or was it Susie, that there is an intention ahead of World Labyrinth Day itself.
Yes, it's, we prepare ourselves for World Labyrinth Day, at least our committee does, and we share this intention out to anyone who is planning to host a walk, so they can, prepare themselves and just what I say, just project into the day. Be more than willing to just read that. It's a real quick two-liner here for you. So it's really simple. It's the hearts of the hosts and participants are prepared for World Labyrinth Day. All labyrinths are connected for the highest good of our world. So that's our mindset for World Labyrinth Day. That's what we've been leading up to in our hearts, our minds, and our actions.
Beautiful. Well, we'll certainly put that in the show notes to encourage our listeners to hold that intention. So any other words before we close out, really?
Join in, two words, join in.
Just to echo Ellen, go to the website, register for our finger walks and World Labyrinth Day Live. Take a look at all the montage and everything that's there for you. So ditto.
Wonderful. And we also like to always include an intention in each podcast episode. And perhaps here's suggesting one that folks who are walking a labyrinth on World Labyrinth Day might like to hold alongside that one we've just mentioned ahead of the day itself. Our suggestion is that all who engage with World Labyrinth Day this year will be excited to experience and move to pass on the power of collective intention for universal peace and well-being. So again, we will put that in the show notes and invite you to join us in holding this. So in closing, reminder, World Labyrinth Day is the 3rd of May this year, first Saturday in May. You can find out more on the World Labyrinth Day dedicated website. We'll put the link, all the events we've mentioned, the Australian Labyrinth Network, the other partner organizations, links to the videos, and much more you'll find in the show notes. And there's also a wonderful online resource apart from that wonderful map, which I haven't seen yet. I'm looking forward to seeing that where all the walks are happening. But you can walk a labyrinth pretty much at any time in many, many places around the world. There is an amazing resource available to find one close to you. That is the Worldwide Labyrinth Locator. We mentioned that earlier, a kind of search engine for labyrinths. Again, we'll put a link for that in the show notes. As we mentioned also, Ellen has put together not just one, actually, it's not just the montage videos, but there's a whole series of amazing videos. There's actually a dedicated YouTube channel, isn't there?
Yes.
For the Labyrinth Society, covering a whole range of themes and certainly topics relevant for intention holding and heart-brain coherence and so on. So again, we'll put a link to that channel there. And I think we should also mention Global Healing Response, as we do regularly. Another of course, Alan's many initiatives, which we obviously talk about quite a lot in the podcast, but there are an enormous number of resources there for hosting resources based on particular themes. And they, of course, include the one that we're very much focused on this year, authenticity. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Remember, you can connect with us in the Facebook group and for live intention holding in my daily Insight Timer offerings and with Ellen in the Labyrinth Activist Network's Zoom calls. Details of how to hook up with these are in our show notes. Look out too for our next special topic episode, which we'll be releasing in the next few days. Maybe it's time for Ellen to interview me.
Absolutely.
It's fun being on the other side sometimes. Thank you for listening and for sharing with us in Holding Intentions. We look forward to connecting again next time. In the meantime, thank you, go well, stay safe, and thank you again to Ellen, Carmel, and Susie.
And remember, we're more powerful together.
Impact is presented by Ellen Vince and Clive Johnson and produced by Impact Productions. Our theme music is by Chris Collins and our logo artwork is by Auto Classic. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or your favorite podcast provider. We're a non-commercial podcast dedicated to people of any faith tradition or none who yearn for healing in our troubled world. Please pass on the word so others may join us in making an impact. Thank you for listening.